I want you to imagine a quiet kitchen filled with warmth. The kind of warmth that doesn't just come from an oven, but from memories. Right now, as I sit here kneading dough with my wrinkled hands, the smell of fresh bread rising brings me back to a time when life felt safe, predictable, kind. My name is Helen. I'm 73 years old, and I've lived my entire life in Springfield, Missouri. This town has seen my happiest days and my darkest nights. I bake bread every Saturday morning, not just to earn a little extra money at the farmer's market, but because baking helps me breathe again. Each time the dough rises, it reminds me that people can rise too, even after being crushed. Before I tell you what shattered my world, let me take you back to the beginning. Because no one is born into darkness. It grows slowly. I was born in 1952, in a small white wooden house on Maple Street. My childhood smelled like banana bread, laundry soap, and fresh grass. My mother, Irene, was gentle in every way. She had pale blue eyes that seemed to calm people just by looking at them. When she spoke, it was always softly, like she didn't want to disturb the peace around her. My father, Arnold, was different back then, in a good way. He worked as a mechanic, came home tired and greasy, but always smiling. He'd scoop me up and call me his little princess, even when I was too old to be lifted easily. I believed him. I believed I was safe, that I also had a younger brother, Victor. He followed me everywhere like a shadow. We grew up chasing chickens in the yard, climbing the apple tree, and running barefoot until our feet were black with dirt. Springfield was smaller then. Doors stayed unlocked. Neighbors knew each other by name. Childhood felt endless. My days followed a simple rhythm: school, chores, play, dinner. My mother taught me everything: how to sew buttons, how to cook from scratch, how to stretch a dollar. She used to say, "A woman should know how to stand on her own feet." Life doesn't always warn you before it turns. At the time, I didn't understand how true those words would become. As I grew older, I loved school. Reading came naturally to me. My teacher once told my parents I could become a teacher myself one day. My mother beamed with pride. My father laughed and said, "She'll just get married anyway." He didn't mean harm then. Or at least, that's what I believed. Sundays were special. We went to church dressed in our best clothes. Afterwards, if money allowed, my father bought us ice cream in the town square. Those small joys meant everything. But nothing stays frozen in time. When I turned 18 in 1970, I graduated high school and started working as a seamstress in a garment factory downtown. I earned my own money, helped with bills, and dreamed quietly of one day opening a small sewing shop. Life felt like it was just beginning. Then my mother got sick. At first, it was subtle: weight loss, fatigue, stomach pain. We told ourselves it was nothing serious. Until the day she collapsed in the kitchen. The hospital visit changed everything. Pancreatic cancer. Advanced. Months, not years. I still remember the doctor's voice. Calm. Detached. Like he was reading weather information. My father gripped the chair so hard his knuckles turned white. I cried until my chest hurt. The months that followed were slow torture. My mother faded day by day. I left my job temporarily to care for her. I fed her, bathed her, held her hand through the nights. She tried to smile, but fear lived behind her eyes. My father grew quieter. Something heavy settled inside him. He stopped laughing. Stopped touching us. Victor avoided the house whenever he could. On September 23, 1970, my mother passed away at home. I was holding her hand when she whispered, "Take care of each other." Then she was gone. The house never felt the same again after the funeral. Silence filled every corner. My father returned to work. Victor went back to school. I returned to the factory. But something had shifted. The warmth was gone. At first, the changes in my father were small. Criticism about food. Complaints about the house. "Your mother did it better," he'd say. Over and over. Then came control. What I wore. When I came home. How I spoke. How I looked. Lipstick was forbidden. Pants were inappropriate. If I was 1 minute late, I was interrogated like a criminal. He waited for me every evening, sitting in his chair with his watch in hand. I began to fear the clock. At 19 years old, I worked full-time, paid my share, and still lived like a prisoner. No friends. No outings. No laughter. My life became a loop of work, chores, silence, and fear. And every time I tried to talk to him, he shut me down. As long as you live under my roof, you follow my rules. I didn't yet know that this was only the beginning. I didn't know that the man who once called me his princess was slowly becoming someone else entirely, and I had no idea that one night, just 15 minutes late, would change my life forever. I thought fear meant silence. I thought obedience would keep me safe. But the night I came home 15 minutes late, I learned the truth. Some doors don't protect you. Some doors hide monsters. By the time I turned 20, fear had already made a home inside my chest. It woke up with me. It sat beside me on the bus. It waited for me in the evenings, ticking loudly inside my head like my father's watch. Every day felt like walking on glass, hoping I wouldn't bleed too much. I didn't realize it then, but I was already living in survival mode. That March evening in 1972 started like any other. I woke up early, made my father's coffee, cleaned the house, and left for work at the garment factory. My hands moved quickly over fabric, sewing seams I could do with my eyes closed. Around me, the other women talked and laughed, but I had lost the habit of joining in. Smiling felt heavy. Speaking felt risky. At exactly 6 o'clock, I clocked out. I walked fast to the bus stop, my eyes glued to the street as if staring hard enough would make the bus arrive faster. It was usually on time. Usually. That day, it wasn't. 6:15 passed. Then 6:20. Then 6:30. My stomach tightened with every minute. Someone said the bus had broken down on Main Street. No phones. No way to warn anyone. I felt trapped by time itself. When the bus finally arrived, it was already too late. I rode home shaking, counting seconds, rehearsing excuses that I knew wouldn't matter. I got off the bus and ran. I ran like someone was chasing me. My lungs burned. My legs screamed. When I reached my street, the church clock struck. 7:15. 15 minutes late. The house was dark except for one dim light in the living room. I opened the door quietly, foolishly believing silence could soften what was coming. That's when I saw him. My father sat in his chair, completely still. The light behind him turned his body into a shadow. He didn't move. He didn't speak. "Dad," I whispered, my voice shaking. "The bus." He stood up slowly. When his face came into the light, I knew something was wrong. This wasn't anger. This was something colder. Something empty. "I'm going to teach you what happens to girls who stay out at night," he said. Before I could step back, his hand closed around my arm. His grip was iron. I screamed his name, begged him to listen, but it was like speaking to a stranger wearing my father's face. He dragged me down the hallway. The bathroom door slammed shut behind us. That small, cold room became the place where my childhood finally died. I won't describe everything that happened in there. Some details don't need words to be understood. What matters is this: that night, he stopped seeing me as his daughter. I became something to control, something to punish. When it was over, I lay curled on the bathroom floor, shaking, staring at the ceiling. My body hurt in ways I didn't know were possible. My mind floated somewhere far away, as if leaving was the only way to survive. He walked out, closed the door, went to bed, and slept. I stayed on that floor until morning. When sunlight finally crept through the small window, something inside me snapped, not loudly, but completely. I looked at myself in the mirror and didn't recognize the girl staring back. Her eyes were hollow. Her face was pale. But there was something else too. Clarity. If I stayed, I would die. I got dressed for work like a machine. Long sleeves, high collar, hair pulled tight. I passed him in the kitchen without a word. He didn't speak either. It was as if the night before had never happened. At work, my co-workers noticed immediately. I lied. I said I was sick. I said I was tired. I spent the day sewing while my mind replayed the bathroom over and over again. That evening, I came home exactly on time. He looked at me briefly, then looked away. The silence that followed was worse than shouting. Days passed like this. Then weeks. I did everything perfectly. I spoke less. I moved carefully. I became invisible. I tried once to ask for help. One Saturday morning, when he was at work, I went to my neighbor Mrs. Lewis's house. She had known me since I was a child. She welcomed me with coffee and warm bread. She looked at me and knew immediately something was wrong. "Did something happen, Helen?" she asked gently. I almost told her. The words pressed against my throat, desperate to escape. But then his voice echoed in my head. "If you tell anyone, you'll regret it." Fear won. I lied. I left with a cake recipe and a deeper sense of loneliness than before. That night, lying in bed, a dangerous thought crept in. What if it would be easier to stop existing? I even held a bottle of pills in my hand. Then I remembered my mother. Her voice. Her hands. Her strength. She had fought to live even when dying. I put the pills away and cried until my chest ached. That was the night I decided I would survive. Quietly, secretly, I began preparing. I saved coins, hid clothes, watched schedules, memorized exits. I repeated sentences in my head like prayers. I need help. I am afraid. I deserve protection. I didn't know when I would leave, but I knew I would. And I didn't know that the very next delay, the kind I feared most, would become the moment that saved my life. I thought the worst night was behind me. I was wrong. Because the moment I finally decided to escape, life tested me one last time, and this time, I chose not to stay silent. For 2 months after that night, I lived like a shadow inside my own home. I moved quietly. I spoke only when necessary. I measured every step, every word, every breath. Fear had trained me well. Too well. On the outside, everything looked normal. The house was clean. Meals were cooked on time. I came home exactly when I was supposed to. My father went to work, returned at the same hour, sat in his chair, and acted as if nothing had happened. But inside me, something was constantly screaming. I wasn't living. I was waiting. Waiting for courage. Waiting for an opportunity. Waiting for the moment when I would finally stop being afraid. That moment came on an ordinary Tuesday morning. My father had left early for the shop, slamming the door behind him like always. I stood in the kitchen washing breakfast dishes when the faucet suddenly came loose in my hands. Water burst everywhere, splashing the floor, soaking the cabinets. I tried to shut it off, but the valve was stuck. Panic rose in my throat as water spread across the kitchen. By the time I managed to stop it, half the room was flooded. I stood there, dripping wet, staring at the mess. And the first thought that hit me wasn't about fixing the sink. It was about him. I imagined my father coming home, seeing the damage, blaming me, exploding. My chest tightened. Then something unexpected happened. Instead of fear, I felt clarity. I looked at the flooded kitchen and realized something simple and powerful. I would not be here when he came back. That was it. No more waiting. No more planning. The decision was made in an instant. I ran to my room, hands shaking as I pulled the clothes I had hidden under my pillow. I dressed quickly, grabbed my purse with my documents and the small amount of money I had saved. I looked around my bedroom one last time. The walls, the bed, the window I had stared out of so many nights. I felt no sadness, only urgency. At 7:45 in the morning, I walked out of that house without locking the door. I didn't turn back. I didn't slow down. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like it might tear out of my chest. Every person I passed on the street made me nervous. Do they know my father? Will they stop me? Will they tell him? The bus took forever to arrive. When it finally did, I sat in the back and stared out the window, barely breathing. My destination was clear, the police station. I stood outside the building for several minutes, frozen. Fear tried one last time to pull me back. What if they don't believe you? What if they send you home? Then my mother's voice echoed in my memory. Be strong. I walked inside. A young woman at the desk looked up and smiled kindly. Can I help you? I need to file a report, I whispered. She nodded and led me down a hallway. Officer Richard will see you. Richard. The name hit me like lightning. When the door opened, my breath caught in my throat. Standing there in a police uniform was the same boy who used to play tag with me in the street. My childhood friend. Richard. Helen, he said softly. That was all it took. I broke down. He guided me into his office, closed the door, and knelt in front of me. You're safe here, he said. Tell me what happened. And for the first time, I told the truth. I told him about my mother's death, about my father's change, about the control, the fear, the bathroom. My voice shook, but I didn't stop. I showed him the marks that hadn't fully healed. Richard didn't interrupt. He didn't doubt me. I believe you, he said firmly. And we're going to stop this. Paperwork followed. Photographs. Statements. Each step was painful but grounding. This was real. This was happening. At 10 that morning, we drove to my house. My father's truck was already there. My heart nearly stopped. Richard knocked on the door. Police. When my father opened it and saw me sitting in the car, his face twisted with rage. He tried to argue, to deny, to justify. It didn't work. The handcuffs clicked shut. Neighbors gathered. Whispers spread. But for the first time, I didn't care who saw. As my father was led away, he looked at me, not with regret, but with anger. And in that moment, I felt something new, relief. At the station, Richard explained everything. My father would be held. There would be a trial. I was safe. But where will you stay? He asked. I thought of Mrs. Lewis. She opened her door and wrapped me in a hug before I could even finish my sentence. You're safe here now, she said. That night, for the first time in months, I slept without fear. I thought escaping was the end of the story. I didn't know that rebuilding a life is sometimes harder than surviving the danger, and that forgiveness would never look the way I expected. Freedom doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives quietly, often wrapped in exhaustion and disbelief. That first night at Mrs. Lewis's house, lying in a clean bed with a door that locked from the inside, I waited for fear to come rushing back. I expected footsteps in the hallway. Shouting. Anger. But none of that came. What came instead was silence. Real silence, the kind that doesn't threaten you. The kind that lets your body finally rest. I slept for almost 12 hours straight, something I hadn't done in years. When I woke up, sunlight streamed through the curtains, and for a brief moment, I didn't remember where I was. Then it hit me. I was safe. The days that followed felt unreal, like I was watching someone else's life from the outside. Mrs. Lewis insisted I eat, rest, and do nothing else. She treated me like fragile glass, but not in a way that made me feel weak. In a way that made me feel cared for. The police process moved forward quickly. My father was formally charged with aggravated assault and domestic violence. Saying those words out loud still made my stomach turn. Hearing his name next to those charges felt wrong, even though it was the truth. Trauma has a way of confusing loyalty with obligation. The trial took place 6 months later. I had never been inside a courtroom before. The walls felt too close, the air too thick. When I saw my father sitting there in handcuffs, older and smaller than I remembered, my hands started shaking. For a split second, I felt like a child again, afraid of his voice, his anger. Then I remembered the bathroom floor. I remembered the fear. And I stood tall. I told my story. My voice trembled at first, but it grew steadier with each sentence. I didn't dramatize anything. I didn't need to. The truth was heavy enough on its own. When the verdict came, 5 years in prison, I felt no joy. No celebration. Only a quiet sense of justice settling into place. It wasn't revenge. It was protection. After the trial, reality hit me hard. I had no home. No savings to speak of. No idea what came next. Healing, I learned, is not a straight road. It's a series of small, exhausting steps. I returned to the garment factory and buried myself in work. Sewing became my anchor. The steady rhythm of needle and fabric helped calm my racing thoughts. For almost a year, I lived with Mrs. Lewis. I helped around the house, cooked meals, and slowly learned how to exist without fear dictating every move. Sometimes I woke up shaking from nightmares. Sometimes loud voices made me freeze. But slowly, very slowly, the world stopped feeling dangerous all the time. At 22, I rented my first place. It was tiny. Just one room and a small kitchen. But it was mine. The first night I slept there, I cried, not from sadness, but from relief. I could come and go as I pleased. No one waited with a watch. No one questioned my worth. That freedom felt like oxygen. A few years later, life surprised me again. I met Edward at a neighborhood bakery. He was quiet, kind, and patient in ways I wasn't used to. He never raised his voice. Never rushed me. When I told him my past, he listened without trying to fix me. He showed me what real love looked like. We married in 1978. With him, I learned that respect doesn't hurt and care doesn't demand silence. We built a life filled with warmth, laughter, and children who never had to fear coming home. Years passed. Scars faded, but they never disappeared completely. Trauma leaves fingerprints on the soul. But it also builds strength you never asked for. My father was released from prison after 5 years. He tried to contact me once. I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel fear. I felt nothing. Some relationships don't deserve closure. Today, at 73, I live a simple life. I bake bread every Saturday morning. I raise my grandchildren with gentleness. I tell my story not to relive pain, but to remind others that survival is possible. I am not what happened to me.s. I am what I chose to become. I thought my story ended with freedom, but it didn't. Because survival is only the beginning. In the final chapter, I'll tell you why telling this story matters, and who it's meant to save. People often think healing means forgetting. It doesn't. Healing means remembering without breaking. It means being able to tell your story without feeling like you're back inside it. For many years, I stayed silent. Not because I was ashamed, but because I was tired. Tired of pain. Tired of explaining. Tired of being strong. Now, at 73, I finally understand why I lived long enough to tell this story. I wake up every Saturday before sunrise. The house is quiet. I put on soft music, tie my apron, and start kneading dough. My hands aren't as strong as they used to be, but they still remember what to do. Bread needs patience. If you rush it, it fails. Life is the same way. As the dough rises, so did I. For a long time, I thought surviving meant proving I was okay. Smiling. Functioning. Moving forward. But true healing came when I stopped pretending the past didn't hurt. When I accepted that what happened to me was real and wrong. I raised my children differently. I never shouted in anger. I never demanded silence. I told them something my mother once told me: love should never make you afraid. And when my grandchildren were born, I promised myself they would only know safety inside my home. Sometimes people ask me if I forgave my father. The truth is complicated. Forgiveness isn't always reconciliation. Forgiveness doesn't mean allowing someone back into your life. For me, forgiveness meant releasing the fear he still held over me. It meant choosing peace over bitterness, not for him, but for myself. I don't carry hatred. I don't carry guilt. I carry truth. Years ago, I ran into Richard again, the officer who believed me when no one else knew. He told me that my case changed him. That it reminded him why laws exist. Why silence is dangerous. Why belief can save a life. That's why I'm speaking now. Because somewhere, someone is listening who feels trapped. Someone who thinks staying quiet is safer than speaking up. Someone who believes no one will believe them. I want to talk to you now. If violence lives in your home, whether it comes from a parent, a partner, or anyone who claims to love you, listen carefully. Fear is not love. Control is not care. Silence is not safety. I know the thoughts in your head. What if they don't believe me? What if it gets worse? What if I destroy my family? Let me tell you something I learned too late. The person who uses violence already destroyed the family. Speaking up doesn't break it. It exposes the truth. You don't need permission to protect yourself. Get your documents. Tell someone you trust. Go to a police station. Go to a shelter. Leave when you can, but leave. Because violence doesn't end on its own. It only grows. I once thought 15 minutes late was my mistake. It wasn't. The mistake was believing I deserved punishment instead of protection. Today, my life is quiet. Full of simple joys. Warm bread. Loud grandchildren. Long afternoons in the garden. Peace doesn't come loudly, but it stays. And if you're listening to this and thinking, I wish I were that strong, let me correct you. You already are. Strength isn't loud. It's the moment you choose to live. So if this story reached you, let it be the sign you were waiting for. Speak. Leave. Ask for help. Your future self is already thanking you. And remember this, survival is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the life you were always meant to live. If this story touched you, share it. Someone needs to hear it. If you're struggling, you are not alone, and you are believed. And if you survived, like I did, your story matters. Speech balloon, write courage in the comments. Because courage saved my life, and it can save yours too.